Hey everybody, this video is especially for Sora. He's a compositor here on YouTube, and his songs are based on the Lord of Mysteries novel slash anime, and I really enjoy his songs. So recently he asked us if there was a few songs that we would recommend some changes to or reworking, and well, since I'm too much in general, I made a list, and it's a bit too long to just comment, so I'm making this video to communicate the information easier. It's just, I have a lot, but it's all like positive and anything, like it's just, anyways. So from here on, I'm going to be talking to Sora directly. If you're not interested in his songs at all, you don't have to watch. So don't worry about it. So hi Sora. So as I replied to one of the comments that said you had some abrupt ends on some songs, yes, there's a few. there's a few. And like what I mean by abrupt end is like either the note cuts really abruptly, like boom, pow, you know, or there's like it cuts off the song directly. So sometimes it's not a big deal. Like you could have like just a little bit of fade out with like 2 seconds of silence and it would have been fine. It's not the song that's cut off, it's just the note. So it's just a little bit of editing type deal. Like it's nothing serious or anything. So for the abrupt ends, we have the island sin, a tainted gem, a seat in silence, the voice of fate, a wandering wish, little sun in fool's embrace. Now this one, the title, you have it as Fool Embrace. I would would change the title to Fool's Embrace, like FOOL apostrophe S, because that would be more accurate grammatically. Tiny detail. And then we also have a small, sorry about that, a smile redraw. That title, I'm also not sure if that's a typo. To me, it would make more sense if it was a smile redrawn. But if a smile redraw is what you meant, sure. So that's another one like where there's like sort of a typo. I don't know. It would make more sense to me if it was redrawn instead of redraw, but detail. Also, we have the next song is We Meet Again, When Pillars Fall. When Pillars Fall also has an abrupt start, like it's abrupt at the start and at the end. Then we have Mr.Door, The Age of Darkness, The Kairos Era, Our Dream, The Violent King's Riddle, The Visionary Adam, The Fool, The Magician. Then we have another type of like abrupt end that I put separately because it's like a pop at the end. It's basically like sometimes some speakers, there's some notes, like if you end on those notes, they'll do a pop, or like when singing, if you tap the microphone or something like that, it just makes like a distortion sound of a pop to the notes at the end. So it's not really an abrupt end, but it's similar. So there's 3 of those. It's the Shattered Sun, Golden Veil, the Last Sentinel. And then we have the opposite. We have the Excess Silence. Creepy Mushrooms, we have 12 seconds at the end of silence. So that could be shortened a little bit. And then we have Praying to Stone. That one, there's over 20 seconds of silence at the end. But this song is also so very short. So if you wanted to rework it to make it longer, then you would also remove that silence. So there would be no issue. But if you don't want to rework it, I would do something about the over 20 seconds of silence, because it's like it's about half the song. Like that, when half the song is silence, it's just anyways. Then we have the change of beat category. Now, there's a subcategory to that, which is the war beat that I've mentioned before. I have that separately after. So for the ones that could maybe use some change of beats. Now, these are all suggestions. The beats that are there are not necessarily bad, but maybe like there's a lot of repeats, or I would see the song itself having something else. But that's just like my opinion on if you wanted to look at them and wanted to change the music. Now, as I said, I'm not saying they have to be changed. That's not what I'm saying at all. So just keep that in mind. So we have King of Mushrooms. Right now it uses the same beat as Creeping Hunger, but it's kind of slower in how it's played. And to me, it doesn't sound quite right. Like Creeping Hunger, that beat really works for it. But then when you slow it down, the beat itself is kind of weird. So like it's just, so if you wanted to keep the same feel about it, I'd try like maybe a country beat, like a farmer type country beat. You know, it would make sense. Oh, by the way, this song is also abrupt end, but since I'm recommending a lot of some reworks to the beat, you would fix that in the end. If you would, there's a few other types of beats that might work, but they would change the feel of the song a lot. Just like if you went with a country farmer type deal, it wouldn't change the feel of the song. But what would fit the lyrics and the character would be like making an innocent but like uncanny, creepy song with it, because that's what he is, you know. In his mind, he's just doing a lot of good, and he is trying to do a lot of good, but people are creeped out and very afraid of him, because his ideas are, yeah, I know you mean well, but this is really creepy, and I'm terrified, type deal. So as a character, a innocence but uncanny, creepy vibe, like creepy children type song might work. I'm not gonna play it in this case, but basically, I'll link it in the description. Snowflake Lullaby on the channel, bows at 12 a.m. That one could have a good idea of a vibe that might work, but honestly, I think a country beat would be better. It's just like if you wanted to take it in a different direction, completely based on the character himself, that's what might work also. Then we have Nightmare's Nightmare. Now this one, it uses the exact same beat as Digging a Rhyme, which is fine because it's like a thematic for him. But because of the lyrics and the context of the song, I would go with a little bit more less peaceful, more nightmare, madness-like beat for it. One example would be Last Ending. Every end leaves a scar, which is this one. And then there would be Voices in My Head. You keep scratching at the back of my skull, saying you know exactly who you are. Anyway, so I'm not gonna play more of that, but yeah, so I'm gonna link those, as I said. So those are the ones that I think would work-ish. They're similar vibes. It's basically like you could use the same beat as you had in Digging a Rhyme, but I would have this one go a little bit more metal or darker or little madness inducing. So there's also well, there's a lot of types that could work, but yeah, so these are the two I would recommend for him. So that's the two. Then we have Scream of Thrill. Oops, typo. All of this I'm gonna write in the description. So Scream of Thrill. Right now it uses the same beat and voice as The Birth of the First Sin, and honestly, both the beat and the voice really fit The Birth of the First Sin. And it fits it way better, to the extent where Scream of Thrill feels wrong in comparison. Like I know, like, you wanted to have that aspect of the Demoness pathway represented in that voice and beat, but I think now that you have The Birth of the First Sin out and seeing how the beat and voice fit that song so much better, in my opinion, I would tweak Scream of Thrill and like use a more seductive type voice. There's two examples. This one matches the vibe of the original. It's Pray to Me, and this one is this one. Now, it's very similar in beat to what's already there, but as you like this, the voice is not as deep. It works a little bit better. But then, if you want a little bit more sensual with it, and wanted to go more the seductive way of the style, I would go with Dark Temptation. Now, this one, I'm not gonna play along with it because it's questionable. But considering the theme of the song itself being based on Demoness Pathway, yeah. In the shadows where you touch me, I feel the fire in your hands. Every breath you leave upon me. Ending that there. So yeah, that song would basically be, I'm just gonna do that. So that song would, like, it's a different style entirely, so it doesn't match just the vibe you had originally, but it would fit the theme a lot. So that's two ways you could go about it. Either just keep a beat similar, change it a little bit though, and have a different voice, more like Pray to Me, or go the other way of Dark Temptation. Next we have The Friends Who Stayed. Now that one, it's not bad as it is, okay? It's fine as it is. But personally, I would recommend something that's more end of world / classical beat to it. That one, the example I have is I Was a Soldier by Dwayne Ford. Now, this is an I'm gonna let this one play a little bit. I hope I don't get blocked, censored, whatever. Anyway, so just that, you get the vibe. I mean, I think it would fit that song really well. So as I said, this one, A Friend Who Stayed, it doesn't have to be changed, but if you were to rework it, that would be a very good inspiration for it. Then we have The Watchful Paw. The Watchful Paw, the beat is fine, but I would definitely I can't speak. I would definitely change the voice to a female voice because Susie is female, and the song is singing as a first person, so it's Susie's beat that's singing, and being a male voice does not work in my brain. So this one I would definitely change the voice. Then we have Bizarro Sorcerer. Now this one has a very slightly abrupt end, but if you rework the beat, I'd use a more uncanny type beat to make, because Bizarro Sorcerer is about that. It's about using bizarre means and making people creeped out and stuff like that. So I would change the beat to be a little bit more uncanny. I don't really have an example on this one, but hopefully you get what I mean. And then now we're at the subcategory of that war beat. That war beat. You know, the one you used on the Scarlet stage. So, I mean, Scarlet stage itself was fine. I wouldn't change it, but it uses that war beat. So from there, it's just the songs I either like recommend changing it, or like I'm gonna say if they're fine. So you have Scarlet Stage, and then you have the Suitor of Flesh. Now the Suitor of Flesh, there's like a couple paragraphs that have those little notes, in both the little notes and the lyrics themselves. They give me the feel where like a nightmare lullaby type vibe would work for it extremely well. And I have two examples for that. I have the Nightmares Lullaby by Aviators, and then I have Kimmer's, but we're gonna start with the Nightmare Lullaby. Honestly, that's the one I would recommend most. Yeah, so hopefully I don't get flagged for this.
Don't mind the noise outside the door. It's just a phantom, nothing more.
So there's that one, and then there's Kimmeris, Twisted Wonderland. This one is a duet, and I think in the lyrics at like some parts you have like there's, I don't know, it's a little bit weird to interpret in the lyrics. I'm not sure, like, if I remember right, there's a little bit of a duet type deal happening. But if it's just some person singing the whole time and I'm just confused, then that's fine. But yeah, so. Gonna leave it there. So that was just like an example that might work too, but honestly I would go with the Nightmare Lullaby. So that's that one. And then we have A Calamity's Crown. Now, out of all the songs you have that use that war beat, that's the song it fits the most. So this one I would not change. That's the one I would keep as is. It's perfect as it is. I'm just having it listed since it uses that beat, and I would prioritize keeping the beat on that song. Like, all the other songs you could change and that would be fine, but that one I would not change. So I just wanted to mention it. Then we have Twilight's Gaze. Now, the beat on this one is sort of fine. You don't have to change it, but I would change the voice, because the voice you use on that song is the one that you used a lot when you on your beginning. Sorry, a lot of the songs that you had at the beginning used the same voice, and I think that now that you started using other voices, I would change the voice on this one, because technically it's about the god of combat, which is a giant. So I would use a deeper voice. to represent the giantness. So I think it would make sense. So that's the chain I would do on that one. So then we have Crown of Crimson. This one, if you were to change the beat, I tried to find something like that has a military vibe. Like it, I think it would work. You'd have to see what you can find. I know you use the AI program, so I know you're limited on what you can get because of that. But yeah, so this one, if there's a military like sound, that's something that could work on this song. And then there's Ash and Noir. I don't really have a comment on this one. So this one, it uses the beat. You could leave it as is. It'll be fine. I mean, it's just that I listed it because it uses the beat. Anyways. Then we have the ones that I would rework the lyrics. Well, as you know, there is in A Truthful Lie, I would change the something something line. I've been practicing singing it, and I mean, I'm able to do the somethings, slipping somethings, you know, and like I'm able to sing it as is, and I think it sounds a bit better, like it's more pronounced when I'm singing it than when the AI is. So maybe the lyrics are fine as they are, but if you were to rework that song, it's something I would change just to make it a little bit more different. But you knew about this one. Then we have The Fog of Heaven. Now, this one is not on my list, on my playlist, because it's very, very religious-like, very Christian, which is fine. But it's not something I can play in public in a store, which is totally fine too. I'm just saying. But on this one, there's a line you have, Weaver of Fate. I would remove that because the song is about the Fool, and the Fool pathway has no power over fate. They're actually, it's stated several times that they have to be wary and stay respectful of fate, because they have no power over it. And then in the 22 pathways, the standard pathways, you have the monster pathway, which is the one that has some power over fate, but they don't weave fate. But then you have the Eternal Edict, which is a boon pathway from Circle of Inability. It's under the Goddess of Fate, and the description of the Eternal Edict is weaving fate. Like, that's their main description. They're weaving fate. And so you even have this like sequence 7, which is called Fair Prior, and then a sequence 2, which is a web weaver. So like they're the weavers of fate. So for the Fog of Heaven, I would remove the Weaver of Fate line because it's just not appropriate. It's literally pointing at the Eternal Edict pathway. So yeah, that's one I would change for that reason. But maybe I'm being too nerdy and being too much into details. And if you don't want to change it, that's fine. I'm just saying, okay? Okay, so next. The Red Apple. Now, the Red Apple, it's about the Abyss pathway. And I know, like, from the description, I know you said you had maybe some trouble composing it, and you got a lot of inspiration from the Bible, which makes this song very Christian again, which by itself is not an issue. But that's not at all what the Abyss pathway is about. So this one I would just scrap, honestly. Like, if you wanted to make an Abyss pathway song, I would just restart from scratch. And because the lyrics themselves, they do not fit at all the pathway. Because and yeah, so I mean, the song itself is not a bad song, okay? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying for the team, you were hoping for it. It does not work. So, I mean, you could keep the red apple on the channel, maybe I would just change the description and say like you, or leave it as is. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, if you wanted to make an Abyss Pathway song, that's one I would redo from the start, like, completely. Like, not even take inspiration from the original song that you have. It's just, I would start over. I'm sorry if that sounds harsh. That's not what I'm trying to do, okay? So, that's that one. Where am I? Red apple. Okay, then there's Ink Stars. Ink Stars, you have a male voice singing it as a third person, so it works. It's fine. There's nothing to change per se for it. But if you wanted to rework it, I would consider maybe having a female voice and having Force herself be singing. So, like, it would take some tweaking to the lyrics because it's a first person at that point, and a female voice, obviously. So if you don't want to rework it and you want to keep it as is, it's totally fine as is. It's just, if you want to work on it, that's a way you could do with it. Now, we're at the end, the last few comments. So, a lot of your first songs, like, they were on about each sequences of the full pathway. And they're very different in beat, so they don't blend together on beat. But a few of them, the lyrics do tend to bleed together, and some actually have lines that describe other sequences. So I would just double check those songs, make sure that they don't, like, bleed together, like, and it's just like some lines you have in multiple songs, and they don't necessarily work on those songs, but they work on others. So I would just, like, when you decide to rework them, I would just double check the lyrics, looking for that aspect about it. Also, now these two songs, the beats is totally fine. Like, they don't have to be changed at all, okay? It's the Clown and the Magician. Those two, like, as I said, they're completely fine. But, because of what they are as a theme, if you wanted, you could add a little bit of a circus vibe to the beat and the music. As I said, it's completely optional. It's because of the theme itself that I'm saying that. And honestly, they're completely fine as is. So that's just a comment on a side comment. So if you can use it or not, does not matter. So yeah, that's about that. Oh yeah. So all of this I'm gonna put in the description, and hopefully some of it helps, and I don't sound overly critical, because that's not what I mean at all. And yeah, keep at it, okay? I don't know what to say anymore. So bye bye.